Good afternoon, Facebook, YouTube, Daily Motion, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your second video blog of the day for Tuesday, February 24th, 2015, around 3 o'clock p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's sunny out, but cold. Highs only 15 degrees. Tonight's supposed to be some snow showers, dusting to a couple of inches in the Merrimack Valley area, more on the coast in Cape Cod, which they could get 6 inches. Some news to report: Manny Ramirez and Kevin Youkilis have signed with the Cubs as baseball consultants, and Keith Olbermann has been suspended by ESPN for making inappropriate tweets about fundraising for cancer. Keith has been on good behavior for ESPN since he started back with them in August 2013, but it was only a matter of time before Keith would get into serious trouble. And that's about it on that. My next subject is about the mbta, commuter rail line, haverhill and Reading line. The Haverhill and Reading line have 14 stops. It averages about close to 11,000 passengers a day. It's approximately a 70 to 75 minute trip from North Station in Boston to Haverhill. And it has 14 stops along the way. At one time, the Haverhill Reading line was part of the Eastern Division of the Boston and Maine Railroad, and now it's the commuter rail. And the commuter rail trip starts at North Station in Boston, goes over the Charles River, and it continues underneath the Cloverleaf to get onto Route 1 and 93, goes over that twice, and then it goes on the right hand side. There's other tracks. If they go straight, that goes to Lowell. I covered that in an earlier blog. And if it goes left, it's going to Fitchburg and South Acton. I'll cover that in a future video blog. And then it continues on. It goes underneath 93 again and over the Orange Line subway system, and it continues on. It goes past Sullivan Square, runs parallel to the Orange Line, and there's tracks that go off. That's the Newburyport Rockport line, which I'll cover later, and it follows the parallel runs the Orange Line over the Mystic River and onto Wellington Station underneath Route 16, Revere Beach Parkway. Continues on for about a mile. Then it reaches its first stop, Malden Center, which you can make a connection to the Orange Line, but during snowstorms they urge you not to go onto the Orange Line during snowstorms. And it continues on, runs parallel until it comes to the end of the Orange Line at Oak Grove. Sometimes they use Oak Grove as an emergency station for the commuter rail if there's an emergency at North Station or Malden and stuff. And then it runs double track from like the Malden Melrose line, because at one time that was going to be a continuation of the Orange Line to Reading, but the people in Melrose did not want the Orange Line there because of the third rail, plus they would have to build barriers so the noise level couldn't go in the people's yards. It's NIMBY, not in my backyard. And the Haverhill trains were going to go through like the Low Line and then onto the Wildcat branch and then follow that to it. And then the stops are as follows. Melrose has 3 stops: Wyoming Hill, Melrose Highlands, and Melrose Cedar Park. They're about 6 minutes from each other combined, so that's a good like maybe 6 minutes and stuff. And also it's like this section is part of a subways line, and then it goes into Wakefield, and there's Greenwood, and then there's Wakefield Center. You have the lake there, nice scenery there, and there's another lake you could see there. And you could catch some buses. You could catch the bus 136, 137 that goes to Malden Center and Reading, and it continues on, goes underneath Route 128, Route 95, and it continues on. You're going by like a market basket and a stop and shop that's, I think, in the area where Jordan's Furniture is, and you continue on until Reading Depot, which then it becomes single track. Some rush hour trains or regular trains stop at Reading, because after Reading, it's a single track from Reading all the way to Ballardale in Andover, and it continues on. Single track goes underneath Route 93, heads into Wilmington, and it continues on to North Wilmington. North Wilmington's a very not used stop, and at one time in the late 70s, they kind of eliminated service from Reading to Haverhill, and they had to take out a lot of this double track, so that's why it was singles track. But they reinstated it in 1979, and it was talk about bringing a double track back from Reading to Ballardale, but the funding's not there. And it continues on. It goes past the Wildcat branch of the commuter rail with Eastern and Western Division. A couple of trains for Haverhill goes on the Wildcat onto the lower line each day, mostly during rush hour, and it continues on, goes underneath Route 93, and then heads to Andover. It reaches Ballardale, and then it passes through the Shawshene River. At one time, there was a Shawshene station, but that was eliminated back in the late 70s, and then it goes to Andover Station. I think Andover Station, that's the closest T station to Dr. Sharkey's house, former Billerica Memorial High School principal. I don't know if he's ever taken the mbta commuter rail. I never asked him. And it continues on, goes underneath Route 495, then comes up to Lawrence Station, which they rebuilt, which is a nice station. And at one time, there was going to be a branch that was a little past Lawrence Station, and that branch was going to be a commuter rail. Was going to take to Methuen and Salem, New Hampshire, but the funding was halted in 1980 due to a serious financial crisis with the MBTA, and that branch and they had to eliminate that branch completely and stuff, and the rail lines now have been converted over. It's going through people's property, so they won't be able to do that line anymore. Plus, the MBTA doesn't have any funding, and it continues on to North Andover. At one time, there was a North Andover station, but that ended when North Andover dropped support for the MBTA, and it goes on to Bradford Station, which is in Haverhill, and then it continues on. It goes to there's a big bridge over the Merrimack River. This bridge is close to 200 years old, and it needs to be replaced, and they have to go very slow speed, 15 miles per hour. And there's also a thing, they cannot have two trains on there at the same time because of safety reasons and stuff as well. They don't want to have a disaster happen. MBTA doesn't want any disasters. So that's why they only have one train at the time, only goes 15 miles per hour. They're replacing this bridge in stages, but don't know when the bridge is going to be fully restored because the MBTA's broke, and it goes on, and then it reaches Haverhill Station, and that's the final stop for the MBTA Haverhill Reading line. It's about 70 minutes. You could catch many Merrimack Valley Transit Authority buses that go to Salisbury Beach, Hampton Beach, Haverhill, Amesbury, Newburyport, Lawrence, which could make connections to Lowell and Andover and Methuen and stuff like that. And also you could catch the Down Easter train that goes to Maine there. And there's talk that they want to extend this commuter rail line to Plastow, New Hampshire, because they have a stop ready for it, and New Hampshire has the money for it. They agree to it, but the state of Massachusetts and the MBTA is not agreeing to this because they have financial problems. Plus, you know how Massachusetts and New Hampshire are for transportation. Massachusetts doesn't want to pay up and stuff like that. And the Haverhill Reading line is a pretty good line to take. I took it a few times. I've taken it from like North Wilmington. I walked there a few times years ago from Billerica just to take that into Boston. It's a nice scenic route. It's like a subway route because from Reading to Boston it's 7-8 lines and stuff like that. And Haverhill Reading line should get double track throughout the system, except the one when it's going from like that paralleling Orange line and stuff like that. Because if they could have double track all the way from Reading to Ballardale, they could run more trains during the weekdays from Haverhill to Boston and stuff like that. It would be beneficial for that, and it's good. And these trains on the weekends, they only run limited service, maybe about 6-7 trains and stuff like that. And it's a great trip. I recommend you to take the Haverhill Reading line if you are doing some sightseeing or you just want to take a train ride. It's very good. And that's about it on the Haverhill Reading MBTA commuter rail line. I love doing these video blogs about MBTA stuff and trains and buses. They'll be periodically because I'm branching out to different stuff. I don't want to tell you the same old stuff every single day about this and that, because it gets boring after a while. But I come up with interesting facts, and maybe the next time for the next MBTA thing, I'll tell you about Bus 62 that goes from Alewife to Bedford VA Hospital, but that's a few days away. And I'm definitely going to do one about the Downeaster Amtrak one from Boston North Station to Freeport, Maine. And that's about it. My third and final video blog subject for the night is about former WWE manager, the Dr. Styles Slick. And soon, very soon, Julie Broughton video blog. Have a good day. Facebook, YouTube, Daily Motion, Twitter. Bye.